Hi, I'm here to do a speech this evening for Labette Community College's speech class with Tom Durant. My name is Derek Jones, and tonight I'd like to talk to you about how to take a really great photo. It's easier than you think. About 20 years ago, cell phones gained the added ability to take photographs. Those early photographs were kind of fuzzy, very pixelated, but as time went on, their quality improved more and more to the point where you can now take not quite a professional level photograph, but a very, very good one. The difficulty I've seen is not everyone knows how to take that good photograph. So this evening, I'm wanting to share a couple of tips and tricks to help you take a better photograph yourself. The first thing that you need to know is how to compose your photo. How to set the people, the subject in the frame in a way that makes sense. And one of the first rules that you learn is called the rule of thirds. That rule of thirds splits the picture into these 9 squares. You've got 2 lines going up and 2 lines going side to side. That helps you kind of figure out where to put things in a picture. So you can get your subject nice and centered. You can set them in a different area if you're wanting a different sort of impact. It also lets you know if you're framing it badly. Like this fellow. He is set here in the side. He just looks very awkward with all this empty space over here. If he had taken a little bit more time, he might have put himself more in the center and maybe taken out some of this empty space that's over here, and he would have had a much more interesting and impactful photo. A very good example of someone who's following those and still having a person over here is this one. We have our fellow here kneeling in this corner. The background here is much more interesting, and the focal points is in one of the connecting spots. Having your focal point at a connecting spot draws your eye better in to what you're looking at and helps keep you interested in what's going on. The next thing you want to do is have an appropriate background. The guy from a moment ago, his was very bland. This one is much more interesting. But more importantly, make sure there's nothing you don't want to see. With this person's photo, he's nice and in center frame and he looks very good. But over here on the side, we've got a garbage can, and over here, we've got a car door, and it just doesn't look very good. It also doesn't help that his hoodie here is very close in color to the tree trunk, and it just kind of makes him blend in a little bit better. But it can get much, much worse. So here we've got this nice fellow. It's obviously an older photo. It's a little bit more pixely. But because they didn't pay attention to what they were doing when they were taking the photo, we get this guy. There's the person taking the picture in a mirror, in his undies, and now this kid is famous on the internet for the rest of his life for the worst reason possible. No one wants to see that. No one wants to see that. The next part I'd like to discuss is lighting a photo. The way you light a photo can change a lot of both how you take the photo and the impact the photo is going to have. When you have a darker picture, you're going to take another moment or so to take the photo because it needs to absorb more light onto the sensor. The other thing that can happen is it'll change the mood of the photo. So I have a couple photos here of my lovely, slightly willing wife who is not thrilled with these pictures. But first this one. Okay, forgot the order I had them in. We have an example of what happens if there's too much light first. We lose track of this building here. The trees are fading away, and on them, the light is just too harsh, and it has weird shadows on them. There's a shadow here in his hair, and she's just got a weird thing going on her face there. It's just not good. But when we zoomed in, the same sunlight they took a moment to make sure that the light was promoting the quality of the picture instead of making it worse. Now we get to my less than willing wife. This one we have a naturally lighted photo in the bedroom. The shadows aren't too bad. It's not great. It was also taken very, very quickly before she could smack me, so the composition isn't the best either. But then we turned off some light here, and you can see there's a lot more shadow going on, and it's not very appealing. It doesn't enhance her natural beauty the way that good lighting should. And as we get darker, as I said, you have to keep the frame open longer. So now, due to my natural jitteriness, the picture's a little bit fuzzy, and the shadows around her are everywhere, and it's just not working well at all. Then a moment later, she agreed to take a better photo. She looks quite lovely. She doesn't look like she's going to murder me, and Captain Crunch is saluting her in the background. The next part I'd like to talk about is posing your subject appropriately and properly. This one, as it was a very quick photo, we didn't worry about the posing so much. She just came in and was wanting to be an example for lighting. But as we go on to the next one, we can see some examples of not the best posing. He's staring directly at the camera. It's kind of awkward. It just doesn't quite look natural because he's staring directly at you. You know, I mean, it's still a pretty good photo outside of that. The lighting is very nice. The deliberate use of shadow here shows how you can use the harsh lighting to your advantage. But the fact that he's staring straight at you is just a little bit unnerving. You know, then we have this young lady here. She's focused a little bit her positioning to the side. It's a little bit more of a natural pose. And while she's looking at the camera, she's not staring into the camera. And it feels more comfortable. It doesn't feel like she's going to be jumping on and attacking you. Now, then we have full body poses. And the important part is to make sure that the person doing it is comfortable, have a natural pose. This one, she's just kind of standing lazily. It's just as bad to have a lazy pose as it is to have awkward poses. Everyone's been to Penny's and have them sit you on a weird thing and put your chin up and all that mess. And it's just not good. It doesn't look natural. But in the second photo, we can see she's standing more confidently, more comfortably, and it's a much more pleasant picture. So, in conclusion, I hope the tips that I've given you this evening will help you take some better pictures. While the topics might have seemed like they were a little bit separate, when you go in to take a good picture, they will end up coming together fairly easily. The easiest is just kind of set it in an order. You come up to the person that you're going to photo, go, hey, can you stand like this first? Maybe stand over here. Get them in that good lighted spot. You got them standing comfortably. And then you get behind the camera, and now's the part where you have to do your side and make sure that the camera's pointing at them properly, and you can do it. It only takes about 5 seconds to go out and take a good picture if you just take that moment to plan what you're doing. If you just take a moment, you too can take a great picture. Thank you, and have a good evening.